What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another edition of Weapon Top Mission Briefs here on Northeast Streaming Sports. I'm your host, DJ the Painkiller DeSimone, and I coming live to you with Northeast Streaming Sports Studios here in Central Florida, courtesy of their remote location here. Shout out to Mac and Linda, the producer, for all of their hard work. And I also would like to thank everyone from Weapon Top Mission Briefs YouTube channel that is joining us tonight on Roku. Appreciate you guys following me over to for the transition. And tonight's going to be very, very interesting. And the reason being is because we're not only going to talk about the New York Jets acquisition of Haasan Reddick from the Philadelphia Eagles, there is also a proposed trade for one Zach Wilson. Yes, I say again, Zach Wilson. Actually, a trade proposal, courtesy of Heavy.com. We're going to talk about that today. But first, be sure to tune in to the Roku TV channel. If you guys do not have the free app, download it. You will be able to search out Northeast Streaming Sports and not only see our show, but also see the other multitude of shows that are on Northeast Streaming Sports. Again, shout out to Mac, shout out to Linda, the producer, for all of their hard work. And thank you so much for them giving us the opportunity to broadcast this evening. So now, let's get to it. So, real quick, the New York Jets have acquired edge rusher Haasan Reddick from the Philadelphia Eagles. And again, this is courtesy of Adam Schefter. The Eagles are sending edge rusher Haasan Reddick to the New York Jets for a conditional 2026 third-round pick that could become a second, sources tell ESPN. Schefter tweeted, the 2026 pick becomes a second if Reddick has 67.5% playtime this season and has 10 or more sacks. If not, it's a 2023 third. Reddick, 29, was set to enter the final year of his 3-year, $40 million deal next season, which resulted in some trade rumors surrounding the veteran defender to begin the offseason. So, what does this mean? Well, let me tell you exactly what it means. It means that what the New York Jets have done is they have managed to lose Bryce Huff, which a lot of people were very, very upset about the fact that they lost Bryce Huff. Okay? They actually made up for it in getting Haasan Reddick. Now, that being said, Haasan Reddick is now going to be part of this solid defensive line rotation that the New York Jets have going on within their defense. So I do have to say, it is going to be magnificent. And it made a New York Jets defense that was already very good now that much better. And it also offsets and mitigates the loss of Bryce Huff. I know that he was a fan favorite. I know that a lot of people were very upset when he went and he signed with the Philadelphia Eagles, because a lot of Jets fans felt like the contract that he got from the Eagles was actually very doable for the New York Jets, and they do not understand why the New York Jets did not place an offer to Bryce Huff. But it turns out that they actually did, believe it or not, try to negotiate with Bryce Huff, but his price tag with the Eagles was too high. They gave him an opportunity to go out there and to go get what he felt that he was worth, and so he did. But in doing so, the New York Jets got themselves a great quality pass rusher, which I say again is going to be part of the New York Jets defensive line rotation, which is now going to make them even more powerful than they were last year, at least on paper. Okay? Now, that being said, this could possibly present problems for one particular player, John Franklin Myers. Okay, he may end up finding himself to be the odd man out, and especially because of the fact that the hit that his contract is going to cause the New York Jets this season could be a possibility. Don't be surprised if JFM gets packaged in some sort of a trade, maybe a draft day trade, to move up and draft a player. Could be something to keep an eye out for. So just keep that back here just in case, okay? I love JFM. I hope they don't. I hope they find a way to make it work. I really would not want to lose JFM, but if we need to at least be able to get something in return for him that can not only help us now, but also help us in the future. All right? Now, that being said, what's really interesting is we've seen a lot of the free agency moves that Joe Douglas has made this offseason, and it's actually on paper made the New York Jets a better team than they were last year. Now, mind you, game being played on the field, much different than a game being played on paper. But if you actually took a look at last year's offseason with the acquisition of Aaron Rodgers, the few free agent signings that they brought in, Joe Douglas's draft, the New York Jets last year on paper were a legit playoff contending team. Had Aaron Rodgers not get hurt, I really think, in my heart of hearts, that the New York Jets would have actually been a participant in the 2023 playoffs last year. Now, that being said, Robert Saleh has gone back-to-back 7 and 10 seasons, something that does not bode well here, especially in New York, let alone with the New York Jets organization. They all knew. They took responsibility for it, which was something that I criticized them both during the offseason last year after the season ended, that I felt like everybody needed to come to the table. They needed to apologize to the fan base in some way, shape, or form to just kind of atone for the absolute shit show that last year was. All right? And give fans something to look forward to going into the 2024 season. Well, they pretty much have, because Joe Douglas has been unofficially put on blast. Robert Saleh has been unofficially put on blast. This is their last kick at the can. If the Jets don't make the playoffs, I can guarantee you, shit is going to get blown up at the end of next season, which means we will have a new head coach, we will have a new GM, there will be a new system, okay? And I could almost guarantee you that Aaron Rodgers probably isn't going to stick around either. So, again, between the offseason, between everything that's going on, there is a lot riding, not only on the health of Aaron Rodgers, but also on the health of the players that they brought in to fortify the offensive line, reacquiring Morgan Moses, getting Tyron Smith from the Dallas Cowboys. Okay, so the Jets have made some solid moves. Now it's time to start putting the pieces of the puzzle together, because the draft, tomorrow's April 1st, right? The draft is what, 27th? If I have to say, I think it's either 25th, April 25th. All right, so a little more than 3 weeks away. So there's going to be some interesting things, interesting maneuvering that the New York Jets can do, all right, within that set. So, again, there's going to be a lot of mock drafts that are going to come out. There's going to be a lot of different deals that are going to be proposed. There's going to be a lot of different trades. Now, with the New York Jets, with the number 10 pick, you're not necessarily locked into staying in that spot. Now you could actually move down, acquire a few more picks, acquire a few more assets, and, of course, be able to continue to build your team through the draft, which Joe Douglas has been doing. So, if we continue to stay with the process, we continue to stay with the course, even though the Jets are all in this season, there is no reason to believe that the Jets can also be all in, but also continue to still think about the future, because should the Jets make the playoffs this year, they win a round or two, maybe they make it to the AFC Championship game, dare I say, okay? There's a lot of big ifs, all right? Then next year, we could be looking at another scenario to continue building and to build off of the success maybe that they have this upcoming season. We don't know. There's a lot of ifs, a lot of hopes. A lot of things have to break right for the New York Jets. A A lot of things have to happen in a short order for the New York Jets in order for them to even start thinking about that way. But not going to say that it's impossible. What I am going to say is I'm a little bit more optimistic than I was at this point last year. Because even though we had acquired Aaron Rodgers, you kind of were like, okay, all right. But you still wanted to see the piece that was on the field. I still feel the same way, but now seeing what this team was capable of with shitty quarterback play, that we were actually competitive, that just imagine actually having a halfway decent quarterback back there, that this team could very well be competitive. Where now Buffalo is not going to be able to overlook the Jets anymore. Miami is not going to be able to overlook the Jets anymore. Nobody knows what the fuck New England's going to look like. Okay, so they're a giant question mark. But you know that, you definitely know for sure that fucking Gerard Mayo, he's going to be looking to do some damage. Okay? So, a lot of things in fluid, but the draft still has to be done. And once that is said and done, and then OTAs and minicamps start opening up, we can really start to see things shape up. And then, just wait till we get to June and July. The middle of July, the end of July, when training camps open. Woo-wee! Man, it's going to be awesome. So, we still have to get there first. So we still got a long way to go. But, nevertheless, if you're a Jet fan, you have every reason to be optimistic. If you're a pessimistic Jet fan, believe it or not, you have every reason to be pessimistic. Because there are so many things that could go wrong. But there are also a lot of things that could go right. So, depends on what side of the fence you sit on. Me, I'm not quite there yet. But I do have to say, when I take a look at it, it's not as bad as I first thought it was going to be. So that's encouraging. So, that being said, let's move on over to our next topic. Now, I want to credit Heavy.com for this, because this was an interesting proposal that was actually put out there. Shout out to Evan Craig. He actually put this out there March 30th, which was yesterday. Okay. Now, the highlight of the article is Broncos trade proposal swaps Courtland Sutton for former top 3 quarterback. So, reading a little excerpt from this article, fans of the Denver Broncos have had very little to celebrate since the team won the 2016 Super Bowl. With nagging questions at quarterback, one writer has a trade proposal that would give head coach Sean Payton, and I quote, the saddest quarterback room of all time. Mr. John Bueller of Fanside proposed the Broncos trade wide receiver Courtland Sutton to the New York Jets for one Zach Wilson. Okay? Wow. But there's more. The Broncos would also receive a 2024 fourth rounder, number 111 overall, and a 2025 sixth round pick in this proposal. Bueller defended the move, considering Denver, and I quote, needs draft capital so badly. From Denver's perspective, you are not just getting Wilson over on an expiring deal ahead of what will almost certainly be another lost year for the franchise. Bueller wrote on March 30th, but you are getting 2 picks from the Jets as well. They may only be a 4th round pick this year and a 6th round pick in 2026, but you got something else in addition to a failing former BYU quarterback. Now, here's my thoughts on this. Okay. Now, I'm very, very interested to hear what you guys have to think about it. So please, if you have the opportunity to comment on this, drop a comment. I'm very, very curious to hear anyone who's watching this show, anyone who is listening to this show, I am very curious to hear exactly what you guys think about this trade proposal. And the reason why is because I find it fascinating that this is actually a doable trade. So follow with me, okay? Woody Johnson has already torched whatever little draft capital the New York Jets had in regards to Zach Wilson, going back to his comments this week during the league owners meetings, in which there were several sub-stories which precipitated from that, which consisted of Robert Saleh, head coach, and Woody Johnson having a quote-unquote heated discussion at some point behind the scenes during the owners' meetings that took place. Now, reports have been unconfirmed. Woody Johnson bashed the report, saying no such took place, and the reporter who originally leaked this story has somewhat walked it back a little bit. So they got called out on the bullshit, basically. Okay. Now, you're probably asking, what does this have to do with the trade proposal? Well, it's very interesting because for this trade proposal to come out, at least at this point, or possible or mock trade scenario, you know that in dealing Zach Wilson to any team, unfortunately, whether you like it or not, you are going to have to include something in the deal with Zach Wilson, plus possibly eat 50% of that salary or a percentage of Zach Wilson's contract in order for somebody to take him off your hands. Now, in my opinion, had the conversations or had the comments from Woody Johnson not taken place, whatever little draft capital or whatever little tradability that Zach Wilson had, you still quite possibly would have been able to maneuver without having to cost you draft capital. Now, unfortunately, whatever deal, again, granted, this is a mock proposal to the New York Jets, to the New York Jets with the Denver Broncos. Whatever trade proposal that would happen, you would have to include something in this deal to sweeten it. So almost the possibility of actually having to give up a draft pick or two in order to sweeten the deal to kind of get Zach Wilson gone, but also being able to pick up another dynamic wide receiver in Courtland Sutton, which would again significantly improve your wide receiving core as it stands, because right now, Garrett Wilson, Mike Williams, Alan Lazard, Xavier Gibson, Jason Brownlee. They left the door open for Corey Davis to return, so there's a possibility that he will be there. Randall Cobb, I believe, is going to retire. I think he was only here on a 1-year deal, so he's pretty much out. But whoever else the New York Jets are going to decide to bring in a wide receiver, bringing in a Courtland Sutton almost eliminates the need for you to draft one. Because Mike Williams is here on a 1-year deal. Okay? On an incentive-laden deal, by the way. Garrett Wilson, you already know he's a proven commodity. Xavier Gibson really started to make a name for himself. We really haven't seen enough of Jason Brownlee, but what we have seen, he has the potential to do some serious damage and can do some serious damage if we can get him legitimate reps. So I really would like to see him incorporated in this rotation a little bit more regularly. But to add a Courtland Sutton to this mix definitely will give the the New York Jets a wide receiving core that can no longer be ignored. They already cannot be ignored just with the addition of Mike Williams, because now Mike Williams is going to command attention. And what that does is Mike Williams commanding attention now takes heat off of Garrett Wilson. So now you have the potential of two guys in your lineup that can take the top off the defense at will. Xavier Gibson, who you could actually put in your slot as your slot receiver, and Jason Brownlee, who you could pretty much move all around. Now you also have Allen Lazard. Allen Lazard, to me, is the biggest question mark. And the reason why Allen Lazard is a big question mark is because of the fact that last year, the Jets ended up losing him because of him getting the yips after he took a hit over the middle with Zach Wilson throwing him the ball, basically putting him in danger. Anybody who's ever gone over the middle, you talk to any NFL receiver, when you take a hit like that, okay, you start seeing ghosts. And I don't mean figuratively, I'm talking literally, because now when you're going over the middle in that slot, you're anticipating that hit, and sometimes that is going to split your attention and break your concentration from seeing that ball into your body. This is what happened with Lazard. Last year, he had a very subpar season. The Jets were actually looking to deal Allen Lazard or possibly get out of that contract. But now with a returning Aaron Rodgers, you maybe can think about reversing course, and maybe you give Lazard one more kick at the can, knowing that he's going to have 8 throwing him the ball. Just food for thought. Now, let me get back to the trade proposal. Again, like I mentioned, you would basically addition by subtraction. You get rid of Zach Wilson. You know you're going to take a beating with the contract. So you may as well eat it, or eat a percentage of it. If you have to send a draft pick along with Zach Wilson, if it gets him out of your building and gets you a receiver, a Courtland Sutton, that you know can come in here and have an immediate impact and really round out and shape your wide receiving core, something you have to think about. But again, this is only my opinion. This is the reason why I want to put this out there in the ether. I want you guys to think about it. Please go read the article. Put in the comments. I'm curious if you think that this would actually be a good deal for the New York Jets to pursue or not. I personally think you have the opportunity to unload Zach Wilson. And even if it costs you another draft pick or two, and you can get a wide receiver that can contribute right now, I think you make that deal. But again, just me, my opinion. I want to know what you guys think. So please, put it in the comments if you're able to. If you're able to tag Northeast Streaming Sports, put your thoughts in there as to what you think about this heavy article. Because for me, I want to know what you guys think. I want to know, is this something you could get behind? Or do you think, nah, I don't know if this is even legitimate. I don't even know if the Broncos would even want to do something like that. I know that the Broncos are trying to get rid of assets. I mean, they traded Jerry Jeudy. What's to say that they may not want to get rid of Courtland Sutton? You know, I mean, from the beginning of NFL free agency, the Broncos have been doing nothing but stripping that team apart. So there is every reason to believe that Courtland Sutton is still on the table. They're not going to deal him for the right deal. They're not going to deal him unless they get a package that they're going to feel like is going to benefit them. And just like Bueller said, okay, the Broncos are in need of draft capital. What do the Jets have? Late round draft capital. You trade a pick or two along with Zach Wilson, you kind of solve two problems at once. Again, just my opinion, just my thoughts. I'm curious to hear what you guys think. So again, drop it in the comments. Drop us an IM, something. Just, I'm very, very curious to get the pulse of what Jet Nation is thinking about something like this. Because, shit, if you could make this fucking happen, yo, good on you. You get Zach Wilson out the building, sure, you're going to have to eat a portion of the contract regardless. But you get Zach Wilson out the building and you bring somebody in who can contribute right away. Yeah, that's definitely something you have to think about. Granted, again, this is just a mock proposed trade. Let me preface that by saying nothing confirmed. This is a reporter having fun with it, looking at the Broncos' needs versus the New York Jets' needs, the Jets' assets of what they currently have versus what the Broncos need as far as asset-wise. So I think it might be worth it to look into it. But again, solely my opinion. I want to know what you guys think. Please, 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 please let us know. Let us know. Let us know at Northeast Streaming Sports. Weapon Top Mission Briefs, whether you hit me up on YouTube, whether you hit us up on Roku, whether you hit us up on the Facebook page or whatever, send us an IM or whatever. I'm really curious to hear what you guys think about this. All right. So I got a couple minutes left in the show. So real quick, just want to switch gears. We're now out of the month of March into the month of April. Today is Easter Sunday. Easter Sunday for some people. Now, look, I'm not going to get all religious, okay? Easter Sunday for some people think of today as rebirth, okay? An opportunity from what was once dead can now rise again in a different form. It can rise from the ashes. It can be something better. Now, you're probably asking, well, what the fuck does this have to do with the Jets? It has everything to do with the Jets, because the New York Jets now have an opportunity to rise from the ashes of last year's disaster and actually become a competitive football team. And what more fitting that the proposed trade comes out on the 30th of March. The Haasan Reddick trade happened Friday, on Good Friday. So I don't know if you believe in superstition or whatever. I don't really believe in any of that shit. But in a way, look at the ways everything's happening. Today happens to be Easter Sunday. Things may finally be in an upward trajectory for the New York Jets in some way, shape, or form, even if it's in as small as minute. This is probably going to be the most optimistic that you'll hear me be until training camp and preseason, and I can actually see what this team actually looks like. So, but again, that's going to be my closing thought for tonight. I want to thank everyone who tuned in on Northeast Streaming Sports, on Roku, even on YouTube, to Weapon Top Mission Briefs. My name is CJ the Painkiller DeSimone. There's a few different ways that you can consume Weapon Top Mission Briefs. We have a YouTube channel. You can go to the Roku channel. Download the free app. You can catch, or just search up Northeast Streaming Sports. You catch this show along with the whole live stream of everything Northeast Sports has to offer. Go to Jets World. Go to the Northeast Streaming Sports Facebook page. Give them a like. All right? Every Sunday night from 9 to 9:40, Weapon Top Mission Briefs on YouTube from 10 o'clock to 10:30, as I got 30 seconds left in this show, right here on Northeast Streaming Sports on Roku. Plenty of ways for you to consume the show. With that, this is the Painkiller, CJ DeSimone, signing off for tonight. We'll see you guys when we see you guys. Peace, love, go Jets. Happy Easter to everybody. And most of all, be good to one another.